So today I want to discuss briefly. I'll be using the same example which I've been using for I'll be using the same example which I've been using for the same example which I've been using for the concept notes which I've been developing, the COVID example. But today I want to discuss issues of how to develop questionnaires. This audio is mainly targeted for the students who are writing their full proposals and they want now to develop their data collection tools. I've realized there's a lot of errors and a lot of mistakes which are happening. The students, they're not really understanding how they're supposed to develop their data collection tools. So first thing, these were the objectives which we mentioned in the last when we discussed objective for the COVID-19 concept notes example. So these are our objectives: to determine demographic factors that might be contributing to demographic returnees getting infected in quarantine centers in Zimbabwe, to assess environmental factors that might be contributing that might be contributing to returnees getting infected in quarantine centers, to identify social factors that might be contributing to returnees getting infected in quarantine centers, to establish economic factors that might be contributing to returnees getting infected with COVID-19 in quarantine centers. So remember the meaning of objectives. Objectives means what you set out to go and do. That's the meaning of an objective. So what you set out to go and do, that's an objective. So which means your data collection or the information which will be collected should be related to your objective. So there should be a link between your objectives and the information which you want to be collecting. So most people, they make that mistake when they are designing their data collection tools, when they then forget to link their objectives and the questionnaire. Remember, as I said, your objectives is what you set out to go and do. So there should be a relationship between your objectives and what should be collecting. So in this case, you want to see demographic factors, you want to see environmental factors, you want to see social factors, you want to see economic factors, which means now in your questionnaire, you should have questions to assess those things. And your questionnaire, you should have things to assess those things. So you want to assess demographic factors. So which means copy. You should have a section, and you should have a section in demographic factors, or demographic. Then you should have a section in your questionnaire in environmental factors, which you want to go and assess. So they should be related now, and you should have in your questionnaire a section to assess demographic factors, environmental factors. You should have a question to assess social factors. You should have in your questionnaire a section to assess economic factors. And so then it becomes your questionnaire. Usually, in most cases, we always expect you to, when you're asking a question, when you're developing a questionnaire, you always need to have so you can put sections. You cannot really start developing a questionnaire And in that questionnaire, you don't have demographics. And usually, when you're doing your research, you need to make sure demographic factors or demographic issues they're asked. Demographic issues they're asked, so that they go hand in hand. So these are your questionnaires. This now becomes your questionnaire. This is your section A. Remember, I want you to get this information. This is related to your specific objective. This is what you want, you set out to go and do. And so your demographic, you should ask demographic. Environmental, you should ask environmental. Social, you should ask social. Economic, you should ask social. And what are the demographic factors which you might need to ask people? Maybe you may need to ask you may need to ask people age, sex, marital status, level of education, and then for your age, as you develop your questionnaires, one thing I realize most of you make a mistake is one, you don't put your questionnaires in sections. You just develop a questionnaire. So you put your things like so you put age and it's in years. But sometimes you might need to clarify you might need to make sure you also put date of birth, just to make sure. How do you want the date of birth written? You want it written day, month, and maybe and year. That's how you want to retain. Then you put the space and you're guiding what you want to be done. Sex, we know our sex. We have got male, we have got female, and so you put your things nicely. Male, female. You can decide what you want to put. Either you put my dash. Either you put my dash, or you put so that you tick whatever you need to choose. Marital status, and you put your marital status again: married, single, married, whatever, and you give on all the examples. And level of education, you do the same: primary, secondary, whatever, and you do the same. And you can put my dash so that people know where to answer or to tick, or you can put boxes, and it depends. It depends how you want to do. So this is section A, and you want to see demographic factor. So you can put other demographic things which you want to put. Then as part of your objectives, you also want to assess environmental factors. So which means you need to have a section in environmental factors. What are the environmental factors which you think and it might predispose people in getting COVID-19? Maybe in terms of the environmental factors, you need to understand the environment. There's maybe room. How many, and in terms of how many were in your room, maybe there's a question you want to ask. How many were you in a room? And was you can around in a room. Then so single, 1, 2, 3, and whatever you put the numbers. Then were you sharing a toilet? Because if you share things, were you sharing a toilet? maybe you put yes or no. Then were you sharing bathing facilities? So, and is it were you sharing bathing facilities? And then you put yes or whatever, yes or no. Then you need to discuss other things, other environmental things which you are putting, which you want to assess and to see. Then maybe you want to go to next section, which is social factors, which you want to assess. What are the social factors which might predispose? Where did you? Were you allowed? So that were you allowed to interact? Were you allowed to interact? My interactor, maybe yes or no, something like that. And did you? Were you allowed to interact? Yes or no? Underlying. Were you doing social distancing, whatever? And did you? Social distancing. Maybe you put yes or no. Any sexual relations, were you involved in sexual relationships, and did you? Whatever things you can put in bubble. So what I'm trying to say, try to avoid having my questions like a where you say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. They try to vary your questions, and as you design your questions, could yes, no, this whatever. Depending on the type of your research, you can have maybe since we're not quarantined now, you need to think your research. You need to think what you're presenting. Don't make your you need to vary you need to think since we're not in quarantine now. Maybe among demographic, maybe let me delete this. I might need to do travel history, and I need to get which country did you come from as part of my demographic. Maybe which country did you come from, date of arrival, and then kana buda date of discharge, what discharge varini kubuda mu quarantine. Then what else do I want to know about this? Date of discharge, were you tested for COVID? Were you tested for COVID-19? Then, if yes, you can put all these things. If yes, date and the result, whatever, and you need all this information. But you can create a separate section actually where you want to assess the travel history, but I've just included it in this. So environmental factors, we've put social factors, we've put maybe economic things, what economic things might predispose people from getting COVID. You might need to, I don't know what economic things you may need to think. If they are economic factors, and let's say, were you provided whatever? Did you have access to food? Did you have access Were you given food? Maybe was kafiri. Were you given food? If yes, how many meals per day? Instead of saying how many meals per day, you can just tick. You want to simplify things. If yes, tick the meals and tick the meals. So you put your breakfast, you put your lunch, breakfast, lunch, then supper, lunch, supper, and whatever you'll be like. So yeah, what I'm trying to, I think you're getting my point. My point is, when you are developing your questionnaire should be related to your specific objectives. Remember, as I said, your specific objectives is what you set out to go and do. Truth brother. So you want to see demographic, you should have questions on demographic. You want to see questions on environmental factors. You want to see questions on environmental. You want to assess questions on social. We need to see questions on social. We want to see questions on economic factors. We need to see questions on economic factors. And so remember, this what I was giving you is an example of a quantitative, and it is an example of a quantitative, and quantitative study. When you want to do quantitative, you use a questionnaire. If you are doing a quantitative study, you use a questionnaire. And it was a questionnaire. At the end of the day, you are going to ask maybe 10, 20 people, age, sex, male, and people they are feeling. And they are putting the whatever, single, yes, no, and where are you sharing, blah, blah, sex, social factors, and all these things. Remember, for quantitative questionnaires, your questions are close-ended. They're close-ended. And can I tell you my questions are close-ended? We have the responses already. We have the responses already, like age, and is there sex or male, and the level of education, and how many were you in a room? 1, 2, 3. Then they choose, and so these are closed-ended question. If your research question, if your study is not quantitative and it is qualitative, if this study was qualitative now and can I qualitative study? And if it's a qualitative study, you use an interview guide now. You use an interview guide. And in an interview guide, it just lists the questions which you want to ask. The difference between quantitative study, quantitative is open, it is closed. But can I qualitative and this is study which you want to do? You also ask your demographic factors, and you also ask your demographic factors. Because you can't just start a research about quality and it's about quality, about their demographics. You need that. But if you go now to environmental factors, your questions now, they are open-ended. They are what? They are open-ended. Has cinema pre-coded? You no longer have those you no longer have things like which are closed anima options, and where I can say 1, 2, 3, and where you sharing yes, no, and so in an open canal qualitative, you ask things which are a question which is open-ended. Which is open-ended. Can you describe your living conditions? Can you tell us maybe the way you cook? Can you describe your living conditions during quarantine? Can you describe your living conditions during what? Quarantine. This is an open-ended question. Are you see the question here now? This becomes an interview guide for qualitative studies where you're asking really open. And if someone just described, in our living conditions, we used to stay, we were two, blah, blah, blah. I share my room. In this case, it's open. What? It's open-ended. And maybe you ask, and it's an open question. Then they tell you everything. You can have my questions now under, and if they don't say it, you can have questions about about ablution facilities. You can have my questions ekuzoproba kana kasabvunza ablution facilities handiti ndozvaina toilet akasazvitaura pakutanga and when you're asking them you can then actually probe them kuzobvunza toilet, then bathing and all those things. But your questions are open-ended. In an open-ended. On social factors, you're also asking my questions which are open-ended. I'm trying to think of a question. It is social, it is open-ended, but it's a bit difficult for me to think. How would you spend yours? Maybe you want to say, how would you spend? How did you spend? How did you spend your free time at the quarantine center? Maite during the quarantine center. It's an open question. Then they can tell you whatever they want to tell you, and then they can tell you whatever they want to tell you. Then you'll be listening. Whatever they are saying, whatever they are saying, whatever they are saying. Can I read economic? Can I read economic question? You also ask an economic question which is open, which is open-ended, which is not like closed, but just an open question. Did you have any financial challenges during quarantine? Did you have whatever? And it is an open question, and it's which you're asking. Then someone will just blah 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 and say whatever issues they want to say about quarantine. So I hope you are seeing the difference between these two things. And if you are doing a quantitative study, if your study is quantitative, is descriptive and quantitative, you use a questionnaire. And the questionnaire, the questions, per questionnaire, they are closed questions, which means they have an answer. You are giving an answer, and you are giving spaces and options for the person to answer. Like in this case, I gave you age, whatever, sex, male. There are already options and for someone to fill. There's already yes, no, there's yes, no, there's a number, there's what, and all these things which are already there. But if you want to do qualitative study, where you want to get the statements or the themes which people, you don't use a questionnaire, but you use an interview guide. An interview guide, it just lists the questions which you want to ask. And these questions are open-ended. You're asking someone open-ended. Hausi kubvunza mubvunzo ine ma-answer. But as part of those open-ended questions, you can also put some probing questions. If they don't say whatever, you can put some smaller questions where you can ask whatever you want to ask. And in this case, there are no pre-coded answers for an interview guide. It just guides you the question which you want to ask. But remember, for every study which you are doing, you don't just start by asking And you don't just start by asking someone the questions. Usually, that's why we say objective yekutanga for most of this study should be demographic. You always want to know the demographic factors. So usually if you are having a study and that study doesn't have demographic factors or demographic issues, something is wrong. You can't just start by asking people without really knowing their demographic. So usually demographic are part of every questionnaire. So let's get the difference. Quantitative questionnaire, open-ended, and closed-ended. They're prefied. One of the challenge which I realize with students in terms of options, I've seen people having a questionnaire with the same, with the same options, agree, whatever, agree, disagree, whatever, agree, disagree, all the questions, whatever you put the same things. Agree, disagree, strongly agree. And it does not. You cannot have the whole question with the same options. Try to vary your questions. If you are putting your code data, try to think a way of not my yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Try to think of the options and to put the whole question in a try to avoid so that you avoid repetitive solutions to answers. So just to sum up this recording, the main purpose of this recording is for you to link your objectives and your questionnaire, or not your questionnaire, but to link your objective to your data collection tools and your data collection tools. Your data collection tools, as I said, your study can be either one, quantitative, it can be what? Qualitative, which is number two. You can combine these things, and you can combine these things in where you can have quantitative and where you can have maybe questions are in quantitative and also put, but usually if you're doing a study which is quantitative, you can put one or two questions which are qualitative, which are open-ended. Avoid mixing these things, because it will be the way you analyze quantitative and the way you analyze qualitative. Those two things are different. And those two things, they're different the way they are analyzed. So with data collection tools, questionnaire inoshanda quantitative. Quantitative, you have options. You have options already for your questions. Your questions are closed. Qualitative, what is it? You always collect demographic whatever information for whoever you're asking, but the questions which you ask, they are open-ended questions. They they say whatever they want to say. One of the things I forgot to mention, when you are doing qualitative studies, and for you to collect the information which is being said by the person, you can't write it. You can't write. One of the things, in terms of one thing which you need, is about the recording. These things have to be recorded. You can't be writing as you are discussing with someone. No. The information has to be recorded. You have to ask for permission to record the information. So imagine someone is telling you about their living conditions, whatever the person is going to tell you is going to vary from person to person, which means you'll be recording person by munu nemunu, recording individual as per individual, and so you cannot stick because what they are telling you from their mouth, from their head. What you can only do is to record the conversation. You get permission to record the conversation. Then afterwards, now you can replay the conversation. Then as you replay the conversation, you can then analyze. We will discuss later how would you analyze the information. So qualitative, open-ended, you record. Quantitative questionnaire, you'll be ticking the things because they're already there. So you're asking someone and you write. the information, the answers are short and they are closed questions, or the answers are already there. So you can ask a tick and circle whatever and short, which becomes very easy. I hope you understand this. But one of my main reason I recorded this audio is that most of you, we are making an error. You are making an error in terms of your data collection tools. You are not linking your objectives with your data collection tool. Remember, objectives is what you set out to go and do, which means your questions should be related to your objectives. So the next time I will record another video, another lecture where we'll be discussing how to analyze data. How do you analyze data, which is quantitative, and how do you analyze data, which is qualitative?